Namaste. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today is the 7th of March, 2019. The following is the Vedic astrology reading for Alex Trebek, based on the 22nd of July, 1940 at 11:15 a.m. in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada. Now, using systems approach to Vedic astrology, which was developed by Professor V.K. Chowdhury in India, which is now being used by more than 800 Vedic astrologers worldwide, we see that if we looked east on the horizon at the time of birth, the sixth sign of the zodiac was ascending or rising at 5 degrees 31 minutes of Virgo. This is known as Kanya Lagna, Virgo rising. This is an earth sign ruled by Bud, by Mercury. So Virgo rising sign persons are earthy, practical, ambitious, truthful, loyal, dutiful, intellectual, analytical, communicative, and critical. They make very good critics. Rahu in the first house is considered well placed and not on the rising sign degree. This is not an arbitrary number. 0 to 30 is possible in every house. This number changes every 4 minutes of the day. It's very specific to the exact time of birth. This is such an important number. It's called most effective point of every house. And any planet within a 5-degree orb of the most effective point will have an impact in the house it occupies and in the houses it aspects. So the orb is 0 up to 10. If Rahu and Ketu were 0 to 10 degrees, they would be afflicting the houses they occupy, Rahu and Ketu. In this case, they do not cause trouble. Rahu is the planet of ambition and charisma, fame and fortune. This gives magnetic personality, makes one very persuasive, very charismatic. It brings success. Second house, 7th sign Libra or Tula. Third house, 8th sign Scorpio or Vrishik. Fourth house, 9th sign Sagittarius, Danu. 5th house, 10th sign Capricorn, Makar. 6th house, 11th sign Aquarius, Kum. Chandra in Kum, Moon in Aquarius. This makes Alex very unconventional, imaginative, inventive, humanitarian. He handles his emotional situations through the intellect. This is an air sign. 7th house, 12th sign Pisces or Meena. This is Ketu in Meena. Ketu, the southern node of the moon, is Moksha Karaka, significator for spiritual advancement and enlightenment. So this brings a lot of spirituality into relationships. He's attracted to people who are on a spiritual path. Sometimes when Ketu's in the 7th house, the person marries somebody who's involved in yoga and meditation or other spiritual practices. In the 8th house, we have the first sign Aries, or Mish. This is Shani and Guru and Mish, Saturn and Jupiter in Aries, in the 8th house. So this will require a little more conversation in a minute. I'll come back to this. In the 9th house, the 2nd sign Taurus, or Vrishab. 10th house, 3rd sign Gemini or Matun. This is Shukra and Matun. This is Venus in the 10th house of karma, career, professional life, the field of action. Venus is the fine arts, the performing arts, and the healing arts. It's also connected with fashion, design, architecture, and entertainment. Venus rules the 2nd house of wealth and status and speech, and it's in the house of professional life. It is close to the rising sign degree, so it blesses the 10th house of career, and its 7th aspect blesses the 4th house of home. This gives luxurious properties. This brings a lot of affluence into property, vehicles, and home life. a very prominent Venus, ruling wealth and status, speech and family life. 11th house, 4th sign Cancer, or Kark. So Mongol, Surya, and Bud, Mars, Sun, and Mercury in Cancer. This is the house of income and friendships. So he will gain money through property and through windfalls. He will also gain money from working with a large organization. This also gives income through leadership. And Mercury rules the chart, and it's in the house of income, gains, and friendships. Mercury is retrograde. Retrograde planets at the time of birth have no adverse effects whatsoever. Mercury is close to the rising sign degree, so it blesses the house of income and friendships, and it blesses the house of children and education. It gives income through writing, language, literature, communications, and intellectual property. Sun can give royal income. Mars can give income through property. In the 12th house, we have the 5th sign Leo, or Simha. Sun rules his 12th house of foreign lands. It's in the 11th house of income and friendships. And it's in the royal sign of Cancer. So this gives income in a foreign land. So he was born in Canada, but he gains money from USA. Now at this point I'm going to overlay the systems approach to Vedic astrology, which is at a slight variance from what other Vedic astrologers are doing. It is based on the functional nature of the planets, which changes for each rising sign. For one rising sign, Saturn will cause adverse effects, but for another rising sign, it will not. But the same holds true for all 7 of the main planets. Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn have a functional nature. It changes for each rising sign. Saturn will cause adverse effects for 3 rising signs, but will never cause adverse effects for 9 rising signs. But the same holds true for Jupiter and all the other planets. They are functional malefics for 3 rising signs and functional benefics for 9 rising signs. Until astrologers get that principle organized, until they understand this, they will not be giving accurate information. So now we can review this chart in terms of the functional nature. For Virgo, there are 4 planets that can and should be strengthened to add protective covering to life. These include Mercury, ruling the chart, name, fame, health, appearance, personality, reputation. So Mercury rules the chart for Alex, and it's with the royal sun, and it makes him king, makes him a leader. So Mercury will never cause harm. Venus will never cause harm. It rules the 2nd house of wealth, status, speech, and continuation of family life. Moon will never cause harm. It rules the house of income and friendships. And Jupiter will never cause harm. It rules the 4th house of happiness and home life and property. So those 4 planets should be strengthened. We could suggest to Alex that he wears an emerald gemstone to strengthen Mercury, a diamond for the Venus, a pearl for the Moon, and a yellow sapphire for the Jupiter. Now Rahu and Ketu cause adverse effects for every rising sign if they are on the rising sign degree. In this case they are not. Or if they're closely conjunct another planet, or if they aspect another planet. Rahu throws an aspect 5 houses away, 7 houses away, and 9 houses away. So Rahu causes no adverse effects in this chart. K2 throws an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away. No problem here, no problem here. It's outside the 5-degree orb of Mercury, no problem. It's outside the 5-degree orb of Sun, no problem. It is only a degree and a half from Mars. This is a problem. So K2 afflicts Mars, and Mars rules the 8th house, which is Ayushtan, the house of longevity, the house of accidents, transformations, vulnerability, and death-like experiences. So this causes some inflammation in the body. So this causes some serious issues relative to Mars. This also can cause some problems with the marital bond. He did have a divorce early in life. Now, because Mars rules this 8th house, we cannot strengthen Mars. For the Virgo rising sign, Saturn, which rules the 6th house, Mars, which rules the 8th house, and Sun, which rules his 12th house, become functional malefic planets. Of these 12 houses, from the 1st house around through to the 12th house, only 9 of them are actually favorable houses. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, those are the favorable houses. In every horoscope, the 6th, 8th, and 12th are Dustan Bhavas, inauspicious houses. Planets going into these houses become weak, and planets ruling these houses can, in some cases, cause adverse effects. Not in all cases. The situation is that every planet has an exaltation sign, every planet has a debilitation sign, and every planet has a Mul Trikona sign. If a Mul Trikona sign falls into the 6th, 8th, or 12th house, the ruler of that sign becomes a functional malefic planet. So all Virgos have some challenges in life because Saturn, Mars, and Sun become functional malefic planets. They can cause adverse effects if they're close to the rising sign degree or if they're close to another planet. So let's take a look at Saturn rules the 6th house. It's a functional malefic planet. It is badly placed in the 8th house. It is debilitated. It rules the 6th house of health issues, and it's debilitated and badly placed. So it has no protection to protect the health. He's had a number of health issues over the years. Saturn at 20 degrees is only a degree from Jupiter, so this causes a serious affliction to Jupiter. And Jupiter rules the liver, the gallbladder, and the hips. So this is not ideal. So if he had been a systems approach client, he would be wearing a very large yellow sapphire gemstone on the index finger of the right hand or as a pendant on a chain, 5 to 10 carats, at least 5 carats. Strengthen that Jupiter. We have to pacify planets that cause adverse effects with Bhuta Yagya, Deva Yagya, charities and chants. So we would have prescribed those as well, or recommended those as well. For Saturn, you can help the elderly and the poor and the needy on Saturdays. And Shiva Puja, 108 names of Shiva on Saturdays, quite good as well. We want to do the twofold remedies. We want to strengthen the favorable planets and pacify planets causing adverse effects. Saturn's 3rd, 7th, and 10th aspects are benign because it's outside the 5-degree orb of Venus and it's not on the rising sign degree. Mars at 19 degrees is not on the rising sign degree. Its 4th, 7th and 8th aspects are benign. It's outside the 5-degree orb of Moon. It's not on the most effective point, and it's 13 degrees from Sun. So Mars is benign in the chart, but it is in its debilitation sign, and it becomes weak, and it rules the 8th house, Ayushtan, the house of longevity. So Mars rules Ayushtan, and Saturn is Ayushkaraka, significator for longevity. So they're both weak. Sun ruling the 12th house is a functional malefic planet for Virgo, and you can see it's only a degree from, less than a degree from Mercury. This is about 6 degrees. This is about 6.5. So Sun is seriously afflicting Mercury ruling the chart. Mercury is combust, and it is afflicted. So this causes some problems because Sun represents losses, expenses, separations, and even end of life. And it afflicts Mercury. Its 7th aspect is also causing trouble in the 5th house, so that will cause some separation from his children. So if he had been one of our clients, we would say, wear the emerald gemstone on the small finger of the right hand. Back of the stone should touch the skin. Large, pure, unheated, untreated Colombian emerald would be good. And he has to pacify the Sun by helping father or father-in-law or elderly men on Sundays and Vishnu Puja on Sundays. If we do the twofold planetary astral remedies, they really help us come out of difficulties. If people do not know how the planets are operating in their chart, then they meet with the destiny in the chart, and they will have the same problems in life recurring. But when we start to do the remedies, then we come out of our difficulties. Instead of having problems that are 80, 90, 100% overwhelming, they are much more manageable, 30, 20, 10%. So we highly recommend that people do the planetary remedies for the chart. Sage Parashara says to honor those planets that cause adverse effects at any time, because Brahma has blessed the planets with the boon, with the instruction, do good to those who honor you. And the entire creation and destruction of the universe is all under the authority and administration of the Navagraha, the 9 planets. Therefore, they are most venerable. So in essence, he's saying, if you honor the planets, then they will take care of you. Most people don't have this knowledge, and they don't know how to honor the planets. So Bhuta Yagya, Deva Yagya, for the planets that cause adverse effects, charities and chants. For the other planets that are functional benefic, we strengthen them with color therapy, gemstone therapy, or the mystical pendant known as a kavach, or kavacham, which means protective shield. They're very powerful silver medallions handmade in India, inscribed with the mystical numbers of the favorable planets. They strengthen the planets. They represent the planets and the gemstones. So they replace the need for expensive gemstones, or you can do a combination of both. Now, Alex Trebek started his success in his career as the host of Jeopardy in 1984. When he went into 17 years of Mercury. Mercury rules the chart. It rules communications, intellectual property. It's in the house of gains and income. It's with the royal sun, so it can give royal gains and leadership. His last major change was in January 2008. So 11 years ago, he went into 20 years of Venus. Venus is extremely well placed in the house of professional life. So I suspect these have been very good years for him. But we have to look at some of these sub-periods. So Mars subperiod in January 2014, not good, because it's a malefic planet and debilitated. And then Rahu, he ran 3 years of Rahu, and Rahu can cause trouble in the transit chart. It doesn't cause trouble in the birth chart, but it causes trouble in the transit chart. So last March 2018, he went into his Jupiter subperiod. Yes, Jupiter is absolutely a favorable planet for this chart. But is it well placed? No, it's in the 8th house of death-like experiences. And it is afflicted by Saturn ruling the house of health issues and mental tension. So this is not ideal. His next change will be in November 2020 when he goes into Saturn. And Saturn afflicts Jupiter. And Saturn is debilitated, and Saturn is badly placed. This is not ideal. And then in January 2024, he goes into the Mercury subperiod. And Mercury is afflicted by the Sun. Not ideal. And then in November 2026, he goes into the K2 subperiod, which afflicts Mars. And then he goes into 6 years of Sun, which is a functional malefic planet afflicting Mercury. So unfortunately, this is not a good outlook. So we can also watch the transits of the planets. Saturn is currently at 24 degrees in Sagittarius. Just mentally pick him up and slide him over here. He aspects 3, 7, and 10 houses away. Jupiter sitting here at 28 degrees. He aspects 5, 7, and 9 houses away. Now Rahu and Ketu are at 1 degree in even signs, 4 and 10. So take Rahu at 1 degree, slide him over here. Now Rahu and Ketu always travel retrograde. They enter a house at 30 degrees, they exit a house at 0 degrees. They spend 18 months in even signs, and then 18 months in odd signs. The even signs are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. The odd signs are 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11. And because they throw an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away, they cover all the even signs during those 18 months. So one by one, any planet in even signs will get afflicted during the transit of Rahu and Ketu. So this Rahu was sitting here exactly 20 degrees last January 2018. For 3 months, Rahu and Ketu were stationary at 20 degrees. So this Rahu sitting here at 20 degrees was on top of his Mars at 19 degrees. And its ninth aspect was on Ketu. And Ketu sitting here at 20 degrees was afflicting Mars by the 7th aspect and was afflicting Rahu. So I think last January, February, March, and April were not ideal for Alex. They travel retrograde, they go 9 degrees and then they go stationary. And then 9 degrees and stationary, 9 degrees and stationary. So after they left 20 degrees, then they stopped at 11 degrees. And he has nothing at 11 degrees in the even signs. But the next time they stopped, which was this year, they stopped at 2 degrees. Well, they started in December. But in order to get to 2 degrees, they left 11 degrees, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that type of thing. So they've been transiting his most effective point and afflicting the Sun and afflicting the Mercury. Now they're past that. They're outside that orb. So later this month in March, they are going to move into the odd signs for 18 months. So Rahu will come here and Ketu will come here. The first time they stop will be in June at 23 degrees. So he has nothing at 23 degrees. So that's helpful. That'll be June, July, and August 2019. And then in November, at the end of November, they're going to stop at 14 degrees. He has nothing at 14 degrees, except Moon. That's 13, almost 14. So Rahu sitting here at 14 degrees will afflict Moon. That's the chest, lungs, fluids in the body. And that will be November 2019 and December and January. December 2019 and January 2020. So that'll be a bit of a pinch. And Moon is the landlord for Mars, Sun, and Mercury, so they will all become weak as well. So I don't think that's going to be good for him. So these are the main points on the chart for Alex Trebek. Our hearts go out to him and his family for his health issues. And, you know, with divine grace, anything can happen. So maybe if he does planetary remedies for his charts, maybe if he does his spiritual practices, then maybe some protection can be there. Namah Shivaya.